Well, that was possibly the most frustrating experience of my technological life. I just spent 30 minutes fucking around with the Facebook Live interface, failing to go live. Uh, wow. I'd given up, but here we are, 31 minutes late. Um, no idea whether anyone's going to jump in at this point, or ask any questions or be here. But I always really enjoy hanging out with you. So if anyone does jump in, we're going to hang out for a little longer and listen to cool music and see if anyone turns up. Oh, 5 viewers. Fantastic. Yeah, this came remarkably close to not freaking happening. Trying out my new podcasting mic. Hey, Marcy, hello from Alaska. Hello to Alaska. Oh my God. It's just the way my year's been going, man. Alex and your tactical corgi. God love you both. I've never seen such persistence. Yeah, let's suffice to say I got bigger problems, but hope never dies, as the saying goes. Maybe I'll turn the music. Can you guys hear me? Like, is the audio viable, or am I being drowned out by the music? Yeah, I'm so sorry to keep you hanging around for half an hour. Like I said, it was just complete. Somewhere between utter technical incompetence on my part and, hey, Sheila, God love Texas, and particularly Texans. Yeah, somewhere between technical incompetence on my part and complete intractability of the Facebook interface. It wouldn't let me go live until I entered a description of the stream, which was buried in some menu. And I literally cycled through it 20 times, and I just couldn't figure out how to... Oh, good. Thanks, Maria. Voice sounds clear. Music is quiet. Good. We'll turn the music off in a minute. Yeah, I cycled through... Like, I just went through the settings 20 times in a circle that never ended, and nothing I did would allow me to go live. Nothing but love for you too, Alex. Law enforcement officers forever, man. Particularly volunteer ones. Yeah, it's a good. You got a good dog. Okay, I'm gonna turn the music off. So since we're actually here, up to a amazing current total of 10 viewers, I'm gonna wind the music down. And yeah, so night has fallen. Not for the very first time. I'm a little worse for wear because I basically have been drinking all day. I laid off a couple of hours ago, but we were out at the Royal Academy of Arts seeing their amazing summer exhibition, and they have a bar right in the middle of the gallery. Yeah, thanks, Marcy. I got no one but myself to blame for using Facebook at all. And so there's a bar in the gallery, and so we did that. And I'm tempted to send some pictures, but maybe I'll spare you. Suffice to say, they do. It's an anonymous submission art event that's been going on for 400 years, and so you get to see very, very famous artists next to like grandmothers from North Yorkshire. And it's like 1,000 pieces of art on the walls, going up to it's like 40-foot ceilings, and selected from like I don't know 8,000 submissions. Anyway, that was good. Drank a lot. Had a nice day. Came home. Wanted to kill myself due to trying to get the stream started. But yeah, so I really appreciate everyone taking time out. Those of you who have, I'm really sorry for leaving you hanging as long as I did. I'm really glad you're here. I love this opportunity to just get to shoot the shit with the very best readers and fans and any author has ever remotely hoped for. We haven't done this in a while, so we'll see how it goes. I'm very grateful if you can, put any kind of question, comment, anything you have to say. Questions are really good in the comments, so I won't have to keep extemporizing and making stuff up. And I will kick back in the darkness with my cool podcasting mic and wait and hope for some questions. Oh, I really appreciate everyone who responded to the new audiobook release of Ops V1. Yeah, your reviews were incredibly gratifying and really warmed my heart. And I was a big fan of that book. I think it came together just kind of miraculously and beautifully. And it was a little minor miracle. I still find it a little bit hard to believe that I wrote the damn thing. Not least because, as you may have seen in other forums or media, kind of despairing of being able to write the next one or have it live up to the first one. But I seem to pull that off every time, and hope springs eternal. So, okay, this is the question. Oh, in the past we've done a little more high tech with my VA, the wonderful Madame Marauder, collating questions and sort of dropping them into a document for me. And I'm just kicking it old school today and just looking at the comments and rapping with you guys. So we've got a hello from Alaska. We've got Alex Williams, the tactical corgi guy. We've got Sheila from Texas. Um, yeah, Sheila says she has 7 hours to go on the book. What do you think so far? Um, I was told by a few disgruntled readers that it was a little slow to get started. There's a lot of history of Israel and the IDF, which was fascinating to me, but maybe less fascinating to others. And I should probably do a better job of being disciplined and cutting that stuff out. So Alex asked an actual question, which is very exciting for me, so I can shut that all up. So with the new book, where you worry about the current conflict in that part of the book? Yeah, that's an interesting question. Obviously, the timing of this was just absurdly uncanny. I think the ebook and paper and hardcover editions came out 4 days after the Gaza conflict started. Is that right? I definitely had it all in the pipe when it kicked off, and yeah, so it's another case of life imitating Fuchs. And yeah, so the book, as those of you who've read it will remember, it opens with actually uh, Gazan militants raiding a kibbutz, which was just way too close to home. And so I was always going to, those of you who are longtime readers know that I tend to donate some of the proceeds to military charities. And so from the get go, I'd intended to donate portions of the proceeds from that one to Friends of the IDF. And then I doubled that and then did a matching amount for the Save the Children Gaza appeal. Because it's just really been difficult for everyone there and really unfortunate. And yeah, I was worried people would see it as exploitative, and in fact, I was going back and forth with the lovely people at Podium, and they're like, "What was the timing of that again? What should we tell people?" And I did a whole mailing list message and a blog post about, okay, this is weird, but here we are. So yeah, so the timing of that was weird. To answer Alex's question, yeah, I did worry about it, but I decided not to change the timing of releasing the book. I was just going to do what I was doing. This is great questions. Thank you so much. Marcy asks, sounds like a cool art event. Yes, I'm ridiculously blessed living in London. There's so many regular, amazing art things in the calendar. And a lot of that inspires me as a storytelling artist. Uh, Marcy goes on to ask, when will we hear the next book be released? She said, I enjoyed the history. Thank you very much. It's very kind. Yeah, like I said, it tickled me, and some readers seem to dig it, but I understand people come to these books for entertainment, not edification. I'm sorry, I wish I had a better answer for you about when the next book's going to be out. As you may have heard on the most recent podcast or in some of the other media, the new book has basically been handing me my backside on a pretty much daily basis. And I've been here before where I felt just I don't know, artistic crisis of faith and feeling overmastered by the material and wondering how I was going to pull this off again. And right now, I really don't know how I'm going to fix or write this book, but I feel moderately confident I'll figure it out because I have so many times before. Um, yeah, better answer is I do have like a target, which is to finish writing by the end of the year, and so every day the daily word count goes up based on time going by as I screw around with the story design. So I would love to have the next book out early next year. Um, I can't make any promises because again, it's kind of a tough journey. But yeah, part of the problem is that the first book just came out so miraculously perfect. Pardon the immodesty, that I'm really struggling with like how to live up to that. And I also am trying to take this character on a journey where she really earns her redemption, and that process is really painful. And I'm really worried about losing readers because she obviously had some glitches in her game and some character flaws. in the first book, which is what she needs to overcome to become the hero she needs to be to save the world. And the first half of the second book is her still fucking up really hard, and I'm just really worried that people aren't going to hang in with me for that. And I'm trying to figure out how to do it in a way that she's not totally unsympathetic. I mean, ultimately, I guess, she's kind of come alive, and she'll do what she wants to do. And I know she'll get to the point of being a completely heroic hero who people love and who's like a good person who's all in with the team and saving the world. But I just getting her there in a way that's convincing but not alienating to the reader is pretty challenging. So yeah, hopefully beginning of the year. Sheila says it's good, lots of action. Thanks. Yeah, I mean when it kicks into gear, I think it really blows the doors off action wise. It takes a little while to get there. Maria says, I know from your newsletter that the real life Yael Diane was a big inspiration for your Yael Sion. Can you talk a little about getting in her head and creating this tortured hellion, always the fierce loner afraid of being trapped? Sorry, there's more. I've got to expand the comment. She rolls her eyes at the bond of brotherhood that's so important in the previous Arisen books. She just looks at it as another weakness. Yeah, that's the thing. So she's got this wound, right? I mean, from the very opening chapter, what she was taught from her earliest experience was that hanging around with others and throwing your lot in with others just gets everyone killed. And that's a very hard thing to overcome because it's childhood trauma, right? So it's buried deep in her psyche. So she's got a long road to go to realize that other people are not a mortal threat. So she's got a false philosophy at the beginning of the series, which is that it's only staying alone, staying light on her feet, always moving on, not waiting around, not casting her lot with others, that is the key to survival, right? And that philosophy is wrong, and she needs to learn the hard way that actually it's only planting your flag with others that allows you to survive. Never mind, gives life meaning. So that's the character's journey. That's the whole theme of the series. And it's interesting because you should use your personal experience to inform the work. And that was a big one for me. It was like planting my flag and realizing that other people are the point, and that yeah. So my experience informs that, but it's obviously more dramatized, and the stakes are higher. Um, yeah, so she thinks brotherhood is bullshit, and by the end of the series, she needs to realize that she had it completely wrong, and that she does find a place to belong, and she does plant her flag, and that allows her to succeed and survive, and allows the world to survive. The theme of the main series, I'm sure some of you picked up on this, was essentially that love conquers death. So it was the love that all the heroes had for one another that beat death in its literal instantiated form. Death was literally chasing them as it is figuratively chasing all of us. So yeah, hopefully she'll get there. The real life Yael Diane, I really just took her name and her family history. Our fictional Yael, her whole path is very different. I wouldn't want to ascribe that to the real life people whose lives I still. Lee McGinnis is in. He asks, in the original Arisen series, did you ever have main characters in mind? Oh, right. I feel like sometimes it's Allie, sometimes it's Juice, and sometimes Homer. Yeah, that's a really good question, and I appreciate it. Yeah, so one principle of storytelling is that ideally you need one hero, one protagonist. That's who the story is about. And then if you do a multi-protagonist story, you take some risks. When Glenn and I started Arisen, I certainly had no real idea what I was doing. I mean, I knew a few things, but and you look back and you see the things you did wrong. Like, for instance, one absolutely terrible sin I committed was introducing 8 characters in 2 chapters, 6 pages. So you meet all of Alpha Team in 5 seconds, and no one can internalize, like, okay, who are all these 8 people? If you're going to have a lot of protagonists or a lot of central characters, you introduce one, and then you meet the second, and you give people a chance to catch their breath. And I didn't do that. I do ramble. So to answer the question, I realized at a certain point that they're probably, so it's a cast of proverbial thousands, and then Alpha Team is big, and then all of those guys are really critical. At a certain point, I realized Handon was the hero. It wasn't immediately obvious to me. But when it became obvious was when I tried to kill him, and he didn't want to die. Some of you may have heard this story before, but in book 12, the writing cycle was book 11 and 12, I was absolutely clear that Handon was going to die. He and Henno were going to go down together, fighting side by side, finally reconciled in death. And I had this absolutely indispensable beta reader who was a Coast Guardsman and an aeronautics engineer, and he just had so much priceless stuff for me in terms of technology, and he just solved a lot of my problems and was a wonderful reader and incredibly generous, and I love him to death. But I sent him the story design for books 11 and 12, and he saw Hand in Dying. He was like, dude, do not do this. And I was like, no, it's done. Like, I'm absolutely intent that Hand is done. He's like, no, 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 no. And he saved me from a terrible, own goal, to use a British expression. Because Handon had to be there to lead the heroes to the final victory at the end. A great storytelling principle is that the hero has to beat the villain, right? No one else can do it, and that's one way that Game of Thrones went horribly wrong. When the sister of the hero beat the villain, that's a whole other rant. But yeah, that's what the hero's there for. And so I think I think Handon was, what's the Latin expression, primus inter pares. But of course, many people, including me, love Juice and love Allie and love Homer. But I think Handon was the hero. Sorry, I'm having to scroll comments here. Do-do-do-do-do. Yeah, Allie's the superhero of the group. Like, she's the most unstoppable. Juice is the most relatable. A lot of people say that, like his self doubts they relate to, and God knows I do too. And you may have seen this elsewhere, but I'm going through the whole main series again to know what I need to do to know to write operators. And yeah, so I'm in book 7 and 8, and I'm just having a really good time with Juice. It's so much fun that I've been posting snippets of the audiobooks on the YouTube channel just to post them because they're so much fun. Yeah, Juice is great. But yeah, Handon's the hero. Uh, Daniel asks, how does the new book fit in with the old Arisen series? Yeah, it's a prequel spin-off series. So somewhat oddly, the original main series started 2 years into the Zulu Alpha or Zombie Apocalypse, which typically is not done. You typically have like the event that kicks it off, and we started well into it. Everyone's exhausted. It's the end of the line. And so the whole main series takes place across like 2.5 weeks between 2 years into it and the final victory. Um, so both Raiders and so we got to the end of it, and a lot of people said, "Hey, can you do like a rebuilding follow-on book, or like Aftermath?" And I'm like, "No, no. Like, I understand that you want to spend more time with these characters, and I love that and appreciate it very much. But to my mind, nothing could be more boring than rebuilding, right? Like, let's kill all those, the dead that are wandering around, and like distribute the vaccine or whatever, build bureaucracy and infrastructure." But the beautiful thing was that because we started 2 years in, that leaves 2 years to play with, to explore. So those of you who've read Raiders will be aware that it's like, okay, what was JFK doing all that time? And Operators is basically, okay, what were the operators of USOC at Hereford doing all that time? Because they're running all these missions, and we know there were other teams underneath Alpha that were operating. So that's the idea of the Operator series. So Raiders shows what the Marines were doing. Operator shows what the guys at Hereford were doing. So prequel series, yeah. Da, 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 da. Thank you so much for your questions, and thank you for taking time out of your Sunday. I really appreciate it. Matthew says, thank you so much for all of your books. Thank you, Matthew, for reading them. Thank you all for reading them. It's such a blessing and a compliment. Matthew says, I've yet to care about any characters as much as yours in such a short time frame. Bless. You're the standard I compare. No, I'm just like, this is embarrassing. You're the standard I compare any and all writers in character development to. Such a joy you have pressed into my world. Thanks again. Hey, man. As I said many times, I'm just like a sad bastard banging my head bloody on my keyboard in a dark room. And you can see it's quite dark at the moment. Without you guys along for the ride. So thank you for your very kind words. And thank you for reading. And thank you for your support. And thank you for being along for the ride. Daniel has sent some type of heart emoji that I can't quite parse. Marcy says Homer was. That keeps going by. Marcy says Homer was a really great character. Loved all the characters. They were definitely endearing. Thank you very much. Yeah, they kind of come alive and do their own stuff. Fick in particular, I've always said he just wrote all his own lines himself. Did whatever the hell he wanted to. It's a weird thing. Russell J. Holmes says, dude, and then makes another very nice comment that I'm embarrassed to read. But thank you very much, Russell. Lee McGinnis says, any word on Raiders last book on Audible? Oh, man, I'm so sorry. So part of this is just completely out of my control, and, like, direct your complaints to Podium and to poor Bob Bray, who, is just overtasked and too much in demand. And has some health issues he's dealing with. Part of it is on me because they gave me the option to have him record Operators Volume 1 before Raiders V5. And for reasons that, for the proverbial reasons, I thought that was a good idea because I really wanted for once the audiobook to come out in the ballpark of the other editions. And I just really love this book. And I thought, well, Raiders has been delayed for 100,000 freaking years anyway. How much is it going to matter? But what I neglected was people who had invested in Raiders deserved an end to that story. And so I kind of screwed you guys on that one. So most of the delays are just the delays, but it's later than it would have been if I hadn't swapped those two spots. And I'm really sorry for that, for those people who were waiting for an end to that story. And the answer is no, I have no idea. They pulled the listing from Audible. It was going to be October. They pulled it. They put it back. They pulled it again. I have no information on this. I try very hard to relate any details I get from Podium, and one may dare hope that it will be sooner rather than later. And I'm really sorry for the delay. And for that matter, this is like I don't know, weak, but people who've been annoyed that they can't get the conclusion to it. If you would like to read the ebook version, which I know is not the same, just PM me in any medium, and I will very happily send you a complimentary copy of the ebook. So you can at least find out what happens. Sean asks, I have just finished the new book, absolutely fantastic as always. I'm about to start the whole series again. Once again, you're making me blush. Yeah, so a funny thing is like I feel like the greatest compliment in the world is people who reread and re-listen to the series, and particularly with the audiobooks. I do hear it a lot, and the people would spend that many hours of their lives on stuff that I've made up, not just once or twice or three times, but sometimes a lot more, is incredible. So I love that you love it so much, and thank you very much. In my weak moments, I wish I got paid every time you listen to the audiobooks again, but you bought them and they're yours, and thank you so much, and it's incredibly gratifying. Uh, Maria agrees about character development. I think you're chatting amongst yourself now, which is great. Uh, Marcy says, I've been re-listening now. I honestly would love to hear a Simon and Oleg prequel. Yeah, that's a cool idea. I get a lot of really nice requests for like what happened to these guys, and can we do like a background story for them or an outcome story for like the young Marine and the sniper on Beaver Island, or the two Russians who survived in Africa, and I think that all that's fascinating. But there are two problems. One, I can't follow up on everything because it was just a sprawling epic with thousands of characters. And two, I honestly think some things are better left in inference. Like it's just fascinating to imagine. And sometimes when you spell something out and say exactly what happened, it actually diminishes it. A case in point is we all know that Homer came back and helped retake the JFK from the Spetsnaz borders. And in my mind, I was actually going to like do those scenes as like a prequel or something, the beginning of ARISEN Odyssey, his big story about North America. And I realized, you know what, we can all sort of like just imagine those trajectory lines converging, and we pretty much can imagine what happened. And like spelling it all out might be like actiony, but not necessary. Lee follows up on the matter of Raiders V5. He says, no worries. I know we will eventually get it on Audible. I have the Kindle already, but it's not the same as hearing the immortal Bob Brain narrate it. Yeah, I know. And God love him. I got really excited about Operators again when I started just listening to this chapter and that chapter. And I was like, God, I think he took it up a notch. And he really does bring it to life in a remarkable way. I've always said it's like listening to like a table read of your screenplay, but with like one really talented actor doing all the roles. And he just really crushed it. And I wrote him to tell him exactly that. Alex Williams, back again asking, do you have people with firsthand experience or do you have to do your own research when writing? I know I spent a whole day researching about artillery just to get 3 pages written correctly. LOL. Yeah, it's an interesting one. The short answer is, yeah, I write from research like most writers. This may go wrong, but I'm going to turn on the light. And so that, this is really hard. That is the wall of military books, and you can see it goes from the floor to the ceiling, and it's 300 plus volumes of military nonfiction and military history, and in particular military memoir. Many or most of them by are very elite special operators. I'm going to turn off the light because I'm photophobic. So yeah, so it's mostly by reading those things, particularly the memoirs by the tier one guys, that I get the details, the tactics, the technology, the black humor, the lingo, the mindset, in particular the mindset, right. I'm lucky enough to know just a tiny handful of people in and out of the special operations community, and so some of them have really helped me out at key moments. I have one great friend who I actually went to high school with, who ended up as a master command pilot in the Air Force Special Operations Command. And so when I was writing that scene in Book 12, when the aircraft was trying to take off from Djibouti International, I was like, "Can you tell me about that airfield, that landing strip?" And so he said, "Well, here's the thing. Here's the length of it, and then you get to the end. There's a fence, and there's like 5 feet of beach, and you're going to be in the water, and actually, that was the less impressive part. What I really went to him with was I said, I mean, he's, obviously an incredibly accomplished pilot. And in fact, in many of his iterations in AFSOC, he was ferrying around the exact types of badass tier one pipe hitting operators I write about. So he actually, has met these guys and worked with them. But I went to him and I said, so here's the thing. Here's the aircraft I've got. And what I need is for one of the engines to fail in a way that would be easy to fix if you crawled out on the wing. And he said, okay, bear with me. And then he's like, oh, right. So there's a well-known hydraulic malfunction with that where the brake seizes up. And he says, but the thing is, it's an overcorrection. Like the hydraulics are overzealous and they seize the brake. But if you cut the hydraulic line, it will immediately unseize. And I was like, oh my God, that's just perfect. And it's the kind of thing that's really hard to Google. And this was pre AI. I don't know if AI could have solved that problem, but my buddy did. And I'll be forever grateful for that. Tell us a bit about your canine buddy. I assume Maria's talking to Alex and not me. I'm lucky enough to have a dog-in-law, which is my girlfriend's parents, and we get to hang out with him a lot. But yeah, no canine buddy. Okay, come to the end of questions for the moment. I'm gonna hang around and babble for a few minutes in case you've got more, which I'd love it if you did. The ones so far have been really great. I'm going to go just scroll back and see if I missed anything. Oh, how does the new book, fit in with the old ARISEN series? I kind of answered that. Yeah, another thing to be said about that is, as I said, people want to really want to spend time with the characters that they love. One challenge I face with that is that, in my mind, the characters in the main series have like completed their character arcs and their journeys. They've had the greatest adventure they're ever going to have in their lives. They've become the people they needed to be to solve these problems and save the world. And so bringing them back for the prequel series is problematical because I feel like there's not that much I can add to them, but I could still screw them up. So I'm slightly loath to do that. But at the same time, people really want to see them. So the solution I've come up with is to make them walk on characters in other people's adventures. And you've seen that effectuate in Raiders, where Fit came back. Trouble was, he didn't want to be a walk-on character. He wouldn't get off the goddamn stage. He just kept hanging around, and so I was forced to come up with a character arc before the character arc for him, a journey that he needed to take in those first 2 years. And now I've got kind of the same problem with Alpha, which is like I'm prepared to bring them back and have them hang out and be cool and like offer advice to our new heroes, Yael in particular. But I'm not sure. I feel like I should be doing more with them because you want to see that, and I don't want to let anybody down. But it's a tough one. Oh, good. More questions. Thank you so much. Marcy says, I've re listened to them several times. I used to hate long drives to Anchorage. Yeah, I imagine the distances in Alaska or something. And the traffic until I discovered Audible. I can say Arisen has been listened to several times and were sanity saving. I loved Judy. Yeah, she was a good old dog, and based on real life historical military dogs. I get that a lot. So, like, there are a lot of long haul truckers who are Arisen listeners and are like, thank you. Like, you've gotten me through some long drives. A little bit, I worry about distracted driving, but I'm glad that it makes things easier for you. Lee asks, any more book ideas that aren't in the Arisen timeline? I really like Black Squadron. Thank you very much. I love that book too. It was a little bit divisive because I was very stupid and let politics get into it. And I think the politics I put into it did not jibe with the politics of a lot of my readers. And I paid a bit of a price for that. Oops. Yeah, but I love that book. In many ways, I think it's the strongest story I've ever written. And again, it's divisive, so I've got a lot of one-star reviews for like, "You woke bastard, thanks for nothing. This sucked." And then some people are like, "This is the best book I've ever read in my entire life," which is great to read. Um, Other ideas. So my idea is that obviously I've been carrying on with Arisen for awful long time. I think Operators is the end of the road for that. One thing I love about the conception of this series is that it ends right where the main series ends on that rooftop in CENTCOM. If you go back, you probably won't remember this, but it mentions all the other. So the USOC convoy rocks up with the colonel, and they all man the defense of the Alamo, the Alamo, the Alamo, and they're all on that rooftop. But it mentions like German KSK guys, one of whom is drilled down upon. Um, just it mentions all the different operators, but it does say there are two Sayret Mactal guys. Um, and so you can see where that's going. So y'all's final test. Well, I spoil shit all the time. I'm really bad about that. Ask my girlfriend. I won't spoil it for you, but suffice to say, it ends when the main series ends, and for me, that's probably the end of Arisen. And so I do have this idea that I'm kind of excited about. For this is my roundabout way of asking your question about other non-Arisen ideas. Essentially, a non-zombie apocalypse story about a major what's the term? Uh, Paralyzing attack on the U.S., which involves like bioweapons attacks that cause people to be rageful but not zombies, so they can still use weapons. And of course, there are 400 million privately owned firearms in the U.S., so that could be fun. And also like a nuclear strike on D.C. that decapitates the federal government. And so you have teams of special operators who are trying to survive the chaos in the U.S. and then also figure out who is responsible and then take the fight to the enemy. And so this would be a whole new series that I think I want to stay alive long enough to maybe write. Yeah, so that's the non-arisen thing. I've got a couple of ideas. The working title is fallback, like fallback position. I think that could be cool. Alex responds to Maria, and you may as well all share in this. Tactical Corgi is doing good. He's sleeping next to me on the couch. He's very protective of our 9-month-old baby. Oh bless! Didn't realize. Congratulations, Alex, on your blessed event. Tactical Corgis got a little baby brother or sister. Lee says, I've definitely read Mark Bowden's Black Hawk Down after all the references. Such a great book. Yeah, I do never stop talking about that. To my mind, that was the first battle of modern warfare, and it just comes up again and again for the real guys and informs everything. And I've read Black Hawk Down, Mark Bowden's book, probably 3 times. I remember reading it once just because I was really depressed and I just needed like a thrill ride. It's just so thrilling. Many of you will have seen the film, which is amazing, but the real life story is that much more. Um, it just blows the doors off. So yeah, if you ever read Black Hawk Down, I can't recommend it enough. Sean says we need a TV show. TV show. Thank you very much. Yeah, agreed. There's been interest from Hollywood, and there's nothing. Like the one thing I learned about Hollywood is that nothing happens ever. Nothing ever. So we can just keep our hopes up. I've always had my heart set on sort of like an 8-season HBO series, 10 episodes per season, $15 million budget per episode. This is why it doesn't happen. It would require a lot of money, but yeah, I hope. Sean says, also, do you have any actors in mind to play Alpha if it ever got to a TV show point? Yeah, this is a fun game that a lot of readers have played. I kind of try to stay out of it. If you go search on, I think the Arisen Facebook page, you will see a lot of people have pulled out photos of actors, and I can't remember any of them, but they were all actually pretty. Some of them were really spot on. I really enjoyed reading that. I'm not going to try to, yeah, cast it myself. Okay, so we're actually at the hour mark, despite the massively late start. So I might put out a last call for questions, and otherwise sort of wind it down. I need dinner and sleep because I'm old and tired. I really, really appreciate all of you popping in, and it's great to see names I recognize from all of your kind messages and Facebook comments. And yeah, it's you make me feel loved and supported, and I really appreciate the opportunity to field your questions. Ooh, let's turn the music back on for like outro music. And it's not playing. It's just a night of technical difficulties. Okay. What inspires me? I think this is my girlfriend from the next room asking what inspires me to write, and I think that's a piss take of a question because she knows my position that inspiration is a bit of a myth. Uh, it's a funny fact, but art is just work. It's just about putting my ass in this chair every day and grinding it out. People are always like, "Oh yeah, you just need to find your inspiration, or get away and wait for the muse." The muse is not going to help me write the book. It's just the great Stephen Pressfield said the most important thing about art is work. All that matters is sitting down every day and trying. And I don't suppose I can improve upon that. Oh, I turned the volume down. That's where there's the music. Here we go. Outro music. I love this, by the way. This is called Supervillain. It's by the great Vic Sideburns, who's the greatest remix artist of all time, and the great composer as well. He's like a really marginal artist. He's not on Spotify at all, which frustrates me. But if you look up Vic's Sideburns, as in Sideburns, you should support him in any way you can because he's really written a lot of music that's gotten a lot of the ARISEN books written. Yeah. Okay, so thank you all again very much, and I'm eternally grateful for your reading and for your support and for just being completely lovely. And I appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday. And I'm going to go last call for questions. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Love you all very much. And I hope you're happy and safe. And I hope I get Ops V2 out in some kind of timely fashion. And I hope the Raiders V5 comes out in audio. And yeah, really appreciate it. And wish you a happy Sunday. Bye-bye, everyone. Yeah, thanks. Fall book does sound cool. Yeah, I'll write that one of these days. Okay, lots of love. Bye-bye.